Lambeau Field. You're talking about one of the most historic places to play a football game. Named after the Green Bay Packers founder, longtime coach, player, Earl Curly Lambeau. I would always, as a kid, I would go up, I would hear Chris Berman say the frozen tundra. We know it gets very cold up there in Green Bay. The Carolina Panthers, an underdog going up there. Man, come on. Y'all know what happened. They went to Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra, and walked off with a W. And under a 2-touchdown underdog went to Lambeau and said, give us that W. We're going to talk about that and much more on this episode of the Coach Cherry Show.
My bootstrap, I got clear vision. You can tell that I'm nice. It's like the song snitching, forgetting the past.
Welcome to another episode of the Coach Cherry Show. Before we get started, listen, I got to show you something. Look at this. Look at this. You see what it is. Coach Cherry, what's that on your chair? You see the Panther? You see the Carolina Panther, don't you? Okay, just making sure. For those of you that are listening by audio, watch the YouTube. Check out the Coach Cherry Show on YouTube and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You can also listen to the Coach Cherry Show on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Samsung Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Patreon, and Spotify. Ooh, what a game today. Carolina 16, Green Bay 13. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm watching the game, and I'll be very honest with you. I'm waiting. What are you waiting for, Coach Cherry? I'm saying to myself, they're really going to go into Lambeau and beat Green Bay, who is 5-1-1 atop the NFC? The Carolina Panthers are really about to do this? Bryce Young was back. I still don't know if Bryce Young was 100%. I felt like, I don't know if Bryce Young is 100%. High ankle sprain, that's all we kept hearing. High ankle sprain, high ankle sprain. I've had a high ankle sprain before when I played football. Played running back. Played running back in college. And I had a high ankle sprain before. That thing took weeks. A high ankle sprain. Now, I know it's different now and the technology and the treatment and all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming they get these guys back quicker, better recovery. But still, I was thinking, okay, he only set one game. I didn't know if Bryce Young was going to be 100%. I didn't know. But he looked good. Because to me, the biggest thing about Bryce Young is his ability to move around and extend plays. That's the big thing for me. If Bryce Young is not moving, I don't think he's at his best. I don't. And I saw him a couple of plays move around in the pocket and extend. Had one play, obviously, where he ran out of bounds, where it looked like he was out of bounds, and Buddy shoved him real hard. But it wasn't an unsportsmanlike because Bryce Young was still in bounds. But he showed he could still move. But I'm watching and I'm thinking, they're really about to beat Green Bay. When it got real to me was, and Coach Avero, the defensive coordinator, he's had a lot of criticism. He's caught some slack this year for the defense. They haven't given up a touchdown in the first quarter. Now, I know they're not 9-0, they're not 8-1, they're not even 7-2. And they've had games where they've given up a lot of points. But I think that's strong. To not have given up a touchdown in the first quarter, no, that means something. That means at the very least you're starting the game off solid. Now I know it's 4 quarters in the game. I get that, but you're at least starting solid. They haven't given up a touchdown in the first quarter this season. It got real when they held Green Bay to a field goal to close the half, and Carolina was up 7-6. I said, uh-oh. We got a ball game here. I said, uh-oh, we have a ball game. And it wasn't just that it was 7-6. Nick Scott, remember the fumble when the ball might have been Christian Roseboom, by the way. We could say so much about this defense. But I knew when Nick Scott recovered that fumble, I said, well, something's interesting going on right here. Something very interesting is going on. And there was just a rhythm and a flow you could see from the defense. Green Bay came in with one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL. And the defense, they say bend but don't break. Green Bay was 1 of 5 in the red zone. 1 of 5. That's not breaking. You allow a team gets in the red zone 5 times, and it's 1 of 5. That's solid. That's solid. Now we could talk about what's going on between the 20 and the 20, but listen. The name of the game is don't let them score. Yes, you would like to stop them from getting in the red zone. Yes, absolutely. Don't let them score. But I think you got to give a round of applause for Coach Dave Canales and Coach Ejiro Evero. You got to give a round of applause. After what we saw against Buffalo last week, they could have easily folded, y'all. We've seen teams have a humiliating loss like that, and that loss can define their season. For them to lose to Buffalo 40-9 and then come back this week with that performance, that says a lot. And not only come back with that performance on the road against one of the best teams in the NFL. Nah, that says a lot, y'all. That says a lot about the coaching staff getting these guys prepared to play. Hats off to the whole coaching staff. The 2 takeaways were big. Like I said, the Nick Scott fumble recovery. Christian Roseboom, 15 tackles, 7 solo. That's a monster game. Trayvon Merrick with that interception. And then the nice return. Both of those are big. I feel like Jordan Love was pushing it a little bit, forcing it a little bit, because things weren't. Green Bay was used to scoring more than that. And I think in situations like that, when you're used to having success and you're playing an opponent that you feel like is inferior, not no professional athletes, they look across the line or look at the other sideline, they see another professional athlete. Come on now. You can't tell me Green Bay wasn't expecting to win that game. Yes, they were. Anybody that's played sports knows you're playing a team you feel like you should beat, especially after you saw the way Carolina looked against Buffalo. Green Bay was expecting to win that game. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. And I think that in situations like that, when the game is close, you start to press in any sport. It could be baseball, it could be basketball, it could be football, whatever the sport is. When you're playing an opponent that you feel like we're supposed to be beating them. And not only are we supposed to be beating them, we're supposed to be beating them convincingly. You start pressing. In basketball, you start reaching for that steal. You start taking a deep 3-pointer. You may push it in transition when the defense is already back and you don't have an advantage. You're pressing. Baseball, you may start swinging at certain pitches that you really wouldn't normally swing at. You may start throwing certain pitches that you normally wouldn't throw. You may try to steal a base. You're pressing. In football, Jordan Love taking shots downfield. It wasn't open. Look at the play. Trayvon Merrick, look at his interception. It wasn't open. Jordan Love was pressing because the game was closer than he expected. That happens. It happens. Turk Wharton had a sack. Trevin Wallace had 9 tackles and 6 solos. 9 tackles. Christian Roseboom had 15 tackles. Whew, that's strong, y'all. If I'm giving an MVP for the Panthers game today, it would either be the entire defense. I might give it to Coach Evero, the defensive coordinator. I might give it to him. There are so many people. I might give it to Coach Canales. Coach Canales called an excellent game. MVP candidates for today's game, I would say Coach Dave Canales, Coach Ejiro Evero, the whole Panther defense, and Rico Dowdle. But if I say Rico Dowdle, I also have to include the offensive line. Now, If I say the offensive line, though, I mean, it's like a revolving door. Somebody goes down, somebody else comes in, somebody's playing center, they have to move to guard, the guard has to move to right guard, he was playing left guard, now he's got to be a tackle. I mean, they're shuffling. The Panthers have had the most combinations of offensive linemen in the NFL. They've had the most offensive line substitutions, and they've had the most different starting lineups of offensive lines in the NFL. I don't know how they're having this success running the football. I have no idea. Because they don't have any continuity on the offensive line. I have no idea how they're having success. They're shuffling linemen in and out. Every week it's a different rotation. And quarterback and receiver, coach and quarterback, those aren't the only places where you want to develop continuity and chemistry. The offensive line likes to have continuity and chemistry as well. Yes, they do. But because of injuries, the Panthers, man, hats off to the O-line. And they went into Green Bay and did that? I said Rico Dowdle is an MVP candidate. Rico Dowdle had 130 rushing yards today on 25 carries and a touchdown. The Panthers have a decision to make about Rico Dowdle. They have a decision, y'all. Rico Dowdle is on a 1-year contract. Rico Dowdle has started 3 games this season for the Panthers. 3 games. In his 3 starts against Miami, 206 rushing yards. Against Dallas, 183. And today against Green Bay, in Green Bay, over 100 again, 130. And I'm talking about averaging over 5 yards a carry. The last 3 starts, total yardage, 234 against Miami. I'm talking about rushing and receiving. 234 total yards against Miami and a touchdown. 239 total yards against Dallas and a touchdown. 141 yards today against Green Bay and 2 touchdowns. Rico Dowdle has over 600 yards in his 3 starts, 4 touchdowns. And you're telling me at the end of the season, when his contract is up, you're going to let him walk out that door? Okay. Well, they just gave Chuba Hubbard a new 4-year contract. I understand that. You're telling me if Rico Dowdle continues to play at this pace, at the end of the season, you just let him walk out the door? He could be one of the top rushers in the NFL. What are you going to do at the end? What are you going to do at the end of the season if Rico Dowdle makes the Pro Bowl? What are you going to do at the end of the season if Rico Dowdle is a top 7 or 8 rusher in the NFL? You let him, and he's 27. Chuba Hubbard is 26. They're about the same age. I'm not saying that Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard, you just selected Trevor Etienne. Last year you selected Jonathan Brooks, who hasn't had a chance to. Jonathan Brooks, he could be better than all of them. We don't know yet. That running back room is crowded, and it's crowded with good running backs. Good running backs. I don't know what the Panthers do in that. I will say this. It's still early. They're 5-4. Still, you have 8 games left. So you still got a lot of work to do, or you still have a lot of time to evaluate. If he keeps playing at this pace, though, I just don't know how you let him walk out the door. And I'm not saying that you trade Chuba or Jonathan. Well, I don't think you can trade Brooks because he hasn't played. I'm not saying you trade ET. I don't know. That's something that we're going to have to let play out. Bryce Young didn't have a huge game today. 11 of 20, 102 yards. He did have a pick in the back of the end zone. Xavier Legette, if I'm throwing the ball to him in a one-on-one matchup, it's got to be a jump ball. I'm not throwing a route to Xavier Legette. I'm just not doing that. Because I don't really see him create separation like that. Now, I know that he tried to hit him, I guess, with a back corner throw in the back of the end zone. Bryce, you got to throw that up. That has to be more of a jump ball situation. Because Legette, I don't really see him create one-on-one coverage with a DB. I'm not really looking to go to him like that. Legette, to me, should be zone coverage where he can find a spot in the zone, man-to-man coverage, only if it's a jump ball situation. I would be throwing to Leggett deep routes against man-to-man or zone and underneath routes against the zone. I'm not even throwing quick screens to him because he hasn't shown that he's shifty or elusive. He hadn't shown that. He runs kind of stiff. So I didn't like that decision by Bryce Young. The pass wasn't the most accurate. I didn't like that. But when they got back on the field after Green Bay tied it at 13, 2 minutes left, I said, come on, Bryce. Show us, Bryce. Show us how good you are. Because I've always had confidence in Bryce. Show us how good you are, Bryce. Show us. Led him down the field for his 9th game-winning drive. His 9th game-winning drive. All you got to do is, and I'm watching and I'm saying, just get us in field goal range. Don't worry about it. If you get a touchdown, that's great. Get us in field goal range. And that pass that he had to Jalen Coker, you got to remember when he drops back, nobody's open initially. He extends it with his feet. And that's why I was hoping that his ankle was 100%. He extends it, boom, boom, finds Coker, boom, keep the drive going. Let's go. With that win today, the Panthers can make the playoffs. Yeah, I said it. The Panthers can make the playoffs, y'all. I'm not guaranteeing that they make the playoffs. I said they can. If you can beat Dallas, and then today you can go on the road and beat Green Bay, who is number 1 in the NFC, you can make the playoffs. The Panthers have already beaten Atlanta, so they're 1-0 in the division. They can still win the division and make the... No, I'm not picking them to win the division. I would pick Tampa. But from a mathematical standpoint, they are very much in the playoff race. Absolutely. And now they play New Orleans next week. If they beat New Orleans, they move to 6-4, 2-0 in the division. They are very much in the playoff race. The Panthers are the second team since 1970 to have a winning record through 9 games, despite being the underdog in all 9 games. Yeah. Cleveland did it in 2001, I think. Second team since 1970 to have a winning record after 9 games, despite being the underdog in all 9 games. I don't know how they were an underdog to the Jets, but they were an underdog. But somebody told me today, said, Coach Cherry, the Panthers they need a linebacker. They still need some DBs. They needed some defensive ends. Listen, you got to win, man. It is rare that a team has everything. Every team that is playing probably needs something. Kansas City needs a running back. Josh Allen in Buffalo, they don't have a number 1 wide receiver. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, he doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver. Every team needs something. You got to win. OKC won last year in the NBA. They didn't have a 5-man. Who's their 5-man? Chet Holmgren? No, Chet's not a 5. No, stop it. You gotta win. So yes, you may have needs that can't delay your winning. You try to fill in your needs as quickly and as much as possible, but in spite of that, you gotta find a way to win. And that's what the Panthers are doing. Finding a way to win. They've won 4 out of their last 5, and this is their second win on the road. Hopefully they beat New Orleans next week and move to 6-4. We'll see. In other news, the NBA, Ja Morant. At one time, Ja Morant was on his way to being the face of the NBA. Yes, he was. Ja Morant was on his way to being the face of the NBA. You got to remember, Memphis beat Minnesota. Ja Morant beat Anthony Edwards in the playoffs. Like their second or third season. No. Before Ant-Man, Ja Morant was about to be the face of the league. And then that silly stuff happened. Yeah, it did. That silly stuff happened. The gun stuff. The silly stuff. And it derailed him from being the face of the league. The talent is there. He has the talent to be the face of the league. What he now has to show is the character. He has the flash. Because to be the face of the league, you got to have some personality. You got to have some coolness. You got to have some flash. You got to have ability. And he was winning in the playoffs. You got to win. His lack of character that he has shown has derailed him from that. Ja Morant has been suspended for one game, from what the reports are saying, for conduct deemed detrimental to the team. Inappropriate behavior. Ja Morant has been suspended for one game for conduct deemed detrimental to the team. Inappropriate behavior is what the reports are saying. Apparently, he and Coach Thomas Isolo kind of got into it after the game, and it's been reported that Ja Morant has not agreed with his rotations, his strategies, or whatever. That's the coach, though. What do you mean? Now, we don't know all the details. None of us are in the locker room. None of us are on the coaching staff. We're not on the team. We don't know all the details. But if you don't agree with the coach's decisions, see, here's my thing about this NBA stuff. I don't know who all is coaching. I watch these NBA games. I don't know who's coaching. And what teams, when I watch, I see very little coaching. I do. What do you mean you see very little coaching, Coach Cherry? I'm talking about like the coach is actually running the things out there on the court. The NBA looks like it's player driven. I don't know. I don't know how many coaches are actually running it like that. I don't know. None. I don't know. You know, maybe a Greg Popovich was, a Larry Brown, Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, the late great Jerry Sloan. Those coaches I feel like were coaching. I don't know how many coaches are really coaching like that, where the players are listening. You know how they teach you when you grow up playing? Listen to your coach, trust your coach, I don't know, because the players obviously make more than the coaches. So these coaches, I don't know how much respect they have. Now, Memphis already got rid of the coach last year. I don't know what that was about. And they were in the playoff race. Now they got Thomas Isolo, and it seems like Ja Morant's having an issue with him. Ja Morant leads the team in minutes. So I can't say that the coach is being unfair to him. Maybe there's some stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But he leads the team in minutes. So he's playing you more than anybody else on the team. Okay? Ja Morant leads the team in scoring. So you're getting the shots that you want. Okay? But Ja Morant is not shooting well. Ja Morant is shooting 41% from the field. That's not good. Ja Morant is shooting an abysmal 16% from three. That's awful. I said Ja Morant, he's 5 of 32 from three. Instead of Ja Morant complaining about player rotations, how about making a shot? How about putting the ball in the basket? Complaining about what? What do you... I don't understand. If I'm a player and I'm shooting that poorly, I'm shooting 16% from three, I'm shooting 41% from the field, what am I complaining about? And even though I'm shooting poorly, you're still playing me more than everybody else. What in the world am I complaining about? Be quiet and put the ball in the basket. Make a shot. How about instead of you worrying about the rotation, how about you just make a shot? Put the ball in the basket. And if you have an issue with the coach, then meet with the coach one-on-one. Ja Morant is supposed to be the leader of the team. Now, what I've read is Coach Isolo is a very direct coach. Like, he doesn't run from confrontation. He doesn't run from holding a player accountable. And holding a player accountable, whether that's individually or in front of the team. From what I've read about him and from what some players have said about him is, no, he'll call you on your stuff now. And I don't know if he called Ja Morant on his stuff and he didn't like it. I don't know. Again, we're not there. I'm just going based on what we've seen and what we've read. Ja Morant has already had a number of chances. He's He's had the situation with the gun situation on social media, and then another one where he went live and there was still a gun involved, and then what's the other one? Something with the Indiana Pacers security, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? And so you got to be careful when you do stuff like that, because people can start to perceive you a certain way. And even after the suspensions, he had that lengthy suspension. Then he comes back, and when he celebrates, he's doing all this gun stuff. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I know some of the younger people, oh man, no, stop. Nobody wants to see that mess. Do that in the pickup game at the rec center. Nobody wants to see that stuff. Not when you're representing an organization. Nobody wants to see any of that. So despite all the chances, it's like, dude, you may not be in position. You may need to just build your credibility back up. But you may not be in position to start. You may not be in that position. Build up your credibility. Because, man, he could be one of the most talented. Ja Morant's talent is off the charts. It's off the charts. But you got to carry yourself a certain way. The mistakes of his past don't define him as a person. It does not. A person's mistake should not define who they are. Now, how do they bounce back after that mistake? That's the biggest indicator of how people are going to perceive you, or should be. You made a mistake? Got it. You made a mistake. How do you respond to that mistake? You've made multiple mistakes? How do you respond? Because the NBA has clearly given him chances. The team has given him chances. And we don't know. Coach Isolo may have came in and been like, yo, look, I'm not tolerating that stuff. That may be his mindset. I'm not tolerating that. No, if he acts like that, I'm calling him on his stuff. Or maybe he felt a certain way about Ja Morant already, and we're like, nah, the moment he does something, no, we're not doing that. If you're going to work for somebody, you got to abide by their rules. I look at these players, these millionaires and billionaires. I don't know why they haven't started their own league. You don't like the way things are being done in the NBA? Start your own league. Start your own league. They shouldn't treat us like this, and they shouldn't, and they shouldn't, and they shouldn't. You're a multi-millionaire. You're a multi-billionaire. Start your own league. Why? I don't understand, why can't you start your own league? Why not? Ice Cube did it. Ice Cube ain't even a ball player, but he's a businessman. He started his own league. Successful. Watch when the big three come on. TV ratings, the gym, selling tickets, celebrities are there. Ice Cube did it, and you're telling me these athletes who are actually basketball players, they can't start their own league? If you are discontent with how the NBA is run or how they're treating you, then start your own league. You have the money, you have the cachet, you have the credit, because people are going to, if they start their own, you're going to watch wherever the stars go. That's what you're going to watch. That was the competition between the ABA and the NBA back in the day. A lot of stars went to the ABA. Why do you think people watch the NBA more than leagues overseas? Because the stars are in the NBA. If all the stars went overseas, guess what we'll start watching? The league that's overseas. You don't like it? Start your own league. But my hat goes off to these NBA coaches, because gosh, there's a lot of egos you have to deal with, especially when the players are making more than you. Whew, I don't know how they. Woo! It's a lot of egos you got to deal with. I don't know. But you don't want Ja Morant's career to be derailed because of stuff like that. Come on, Ja Morant, just play basketball, man. Hoop. And I'm not saying now look, if he's being mistreated, then speak up for yourself. Absolutely. I got no problem with that. If you're being mistreated, speak up for yourself. If the coach ain't treating you right, say something. Say something. But don't just Come on, man. Come on. And see, Ja Morant hasn't led them to an NBA Finals. Ja Morant hasn't led them to a Western Conference Finals. So there's really no equity. He can't pull from any equity. What have you done for the organization? Because, see, if we're not making the playoffs or we're losing in the first round, I don't know how valuable you are to the organization. Where's your equity? What have you done where you can hang your hat on and say, hey, I've done this for this organization? What is it? What has it? Huh? A dunk contest or something? What have you done? Nella. This segment is brought to you by Nella, a performance probiotic by Fit Biomics. If you're looking to have an energy boost or improve your digestion or get a good night's sleep, obviously getting a good night's sleep can help your energy, then you can try the performance probiotic Nella at fitbiomics.com. Use the code CoachCherry for your discount. Let me know how it works out for you. This is a great way. This is an option, y'all. How's your digestion? Need to get that thing back on track? Nella can be the solution. Use the code CoachCherry at fitbiomics.com. You know how many good basketball players there are in the world? Like, he's not Steph Curry. He's not LeBron. Come on now. And what is he making? $40 million. In other news, the World Series. Classic. I'm talking classic World Series. The Los Angeles Dodgers, back-to-back champs. First time it's happened since 2000, the New York Yankees. Game 7? First of all, it went 7 games. Anytime in any sport, a series goes 7, you're teetering with that classic category. Whenever it goes 7, I'm not talking about a first round matchup or a second round. No, I'm talking about the actual championship, the World Series, an NBA Finals, a WNBA Final. Anytime it goes 7, you have the potential to have a classic series. Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitched a complete game in Game 2. Complete game. See, we're talking about historic stuff that happened in this World Series, right? He just pitched in Game 6. Yamamoto pitched in Game 6. And then he comes back and pitches Game 7. I said he came back and pitched Game 7 and closed it out for them. Wow. That's very impressive. It's very impressive. MVP of the series. 4-3. Game 3 went 18 innings. So Yamamoto pitches a complete game in Game 2. Game 3, 18 innings. Longest, tied for the longest World Series game. The Dodgers had the other one, another 18-inning game. Will Smith, last night, it goes 11 innings. Will Smith hits the homer in the 11th to give them the lead. Mookie Betts, his 4th World Series championship. It was so much going on. Kershaw, his last time, goes out with a World Series championship. Dave Roberts, manager for it's a lot. The heart of a champion. You can never underestimate the heart of a champion. The Dodgers were down 3-2, and I picked the Dodgers to win. When they got, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't expect this to go 7. I picked the Dodgers. I said 4-1. Maybe 4-2. Maybe 4-2. I did not expect this to go 7. When Toronto went up 3-2, I said, uh-oh. And then Yamamoto pitched Game 6. Okay, everything's good. Game 7, though, it's in Toronto, and I'm like, Game 7 is in Toronto. The heart of a champion. Toronto was up 3-0. This ain't looking good. Going into the 8th, Toronto was up 4-2. the heart of a champion. Remember the Las Vegas Aces this year started the season off slow? And people were kind of scratching their heads like, what's wrong with the Aces? Asia Wilson, what's wrong with the Aces? Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray, Becky Hammond, one of the best, if not the best coach in the WNBA. What's going on with the Aces? And then right around mid-season, they cut that thing on. Heart of a champion. And see, teams like that, if they can just get to the postseason, you don't want to play them. And the Aces know they didn't have the number one seed going into the playoffs. That's fine. They're in the playoffs. You got to deal with them. They go on to win the WNBA championship. Heart of a champion. Remember the Kansas City Chiefs in 2023? The Kansas City Chiefs in 2023 went 11-6. All season, people were saying, oh, the Chiefs are done. They don't have it anymore. They're struggling. The offense isn't the same. And no Tyreek Hill. And They went 11-6. They beat Miami in the first round. Beat Tyreek Hill in the first round. Then they had to go to Buffalo. Oh, that's it. They got to go on the road because normally Kansas City would have home field. Got to go on the road. They go to Buffalo and win. Heart of a champion. AFC Championship. They got to go to Baltimore. They're not going to win 2 in a row on the road. Lamar Jackson, MVP, Baltimore Ravens, Rufa. They beat Baltimore on the road. Heart of a champion. Then they win the Super Bowl. Beat San Francisco 25-22. I'm talking about the heart of a champion. The Kansas City Chiefs at 11-6 just get us to the postseason. Just get us to the postseason. Huh? When Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls beat Utah, Utah had the home court advantage in the finals. Yes, they did. Utah had the home court advantage. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe when they beat Phoenix, Charles Barkley in the finals, Phoenix had the home court advantage. The heart of a champion. Just get us there. You just get us to the postseason, it's a wrap. Kansas City goes on to beat San Francisco in the Super Bowl. And at the end of the season, a team that everybody had counted out at 11-6 won the whole thing. The Los Angeles Dodgers were down 3-2. And some people said, uh-oh, might be it. In Game 7, when they went down 3-0, uh-oh, going into the 8th, down 4-2, uh-oh. No. Ain't no uh-oh. You're dealing with a champion. They closed that thing out. Just like a champion. Back to back. Well, now, look, now, don't even ask about a three-peat yet. Just enjoy the back to back. But when you get a champion down, you got to close it out for them. You got to close them out. You got to knock them out. You got to knock them out. You can't just, it's not enough just because they're not going to quit. They're not going to quit because they know what it takes to win the whole thing. So it's not enough just to get them down. You got to knock them out. Look at Kansas City this year. They started the first few weeks off and people were saying the same thing. Oh, Kansas City, what's going to happen? Buffalo lost 2 in a row. Now they've won 2 in a row. What's Buffalo now? 5-2, 6-2. These teams that know how to win, no, they're never out of it. No, they're never out of it. No, they're not. Not teams that know how to win. They're never out of it. So the Los Angeles Dodgers, back-to-back champs. Shohei Ohtani, that's 2. That's 2 now. That's 2 World Series championships. They define champions. They define all-time greats by championships. That's why I asked the question before, can you be an all-time great if you've never won? I'm just asking, can you be an all-time great if you have never... Let me take that back. Let me reword that. Can you be considered the greatest if you've never won? A number of all-time greats don't have a championship. Charles Barkley, we talked about him earlier. No championship. Dan Marino, no championship. All-time great. Barry Sanders, no all-time great. But can you be considered or be in the greatest conversation of all time and you don't have a championship? Shohei Ohtani has 2. And he's only 31. Got a lot more baseball ahead of him. But he's got 2. He's climbing his way up that list. Climbing his way up that list. This has been another episode of the Coach Cherry Show. So glad that you joined in. Every Monday night, a new episode drops. And on Thursday nights, an episode drops. Locker Room Talk with Coach Cherry. Locker Room Talk with Coach Cherry. That's a more abbreviated version. That's not the Coach Cherry Show. That's an abbreviated version of what's going on in sports today. That's a quick check-in with you. So you don't have to wait all the way to next week. That's just a quick check-in. What's going on in sports? Locker Room Talk with Coach Cherry on Thursdays. If you're listening by audio, tune in to YouTube at The Coach Cherry Show. Click that subscribe button and hit the like button on all the videos. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, signing off, this is Coach Cherry. God bless you.
So I moved to the front, not the back seat. I run my own race, you won't catch me. Follow my passion, then see. Let it breathe. Came a long way from minimum wage. Started flipping burgers at minimum age. I ain't make a lot, but at least